Greetings and welcome back to another episode of The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, the show where I, the curator, discuss my personal favorite show of all time, personal favorite franchise of all time, Doctor Who. And as the background behind me suggests, no, we are not talking about the planet Coruscant from Star Wars, although I would very much love to, but no, we are talking about one of my absolute favorite planets in all of fiction, and especially in Doctor Who, Gallifrey. Hold on, let me just give you guys a better picture of the. Yeah, there it is, the planet Gallifrey, the Doctor's home world, but not their birth world, as we were recently led to discover. And with me here to talk about this wonderful planet, there is the subject of the background behind me, is our esteemed guest, the Honorable Mr. Cardinal Sculon. How are you, Cardinal?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The High Council is in session here, guys.
Yeah, well, I was only aware that we had you on. I was not informed of the
I
of the
am the
High
High Council.
Council.
I've taken over. I've taken over. It seems to happen
Oh,
quite a bit, and it seems quite easy to do.
yeah. I mean, well, you're not wrong. You are
hmm
definitely not wrong. But before the High Council can debate the subjects of today, we are going to talk about the birthdays
That's right.
of the following week, counting down from the 14th to the 20th of February. There's a few interesting names here that I'm very much interested to see what you think, Mr. Cardinal. And
Yes, sir.
on the 14th, starting us off, we have Mr. Simon Pegg. Of course, he played the uh, editor in the Christopher Eccleston story, The Long Game,
hmm
as well as he also played one more role, a Don Chaney actor in Invaders from Mars. Have you listened to Invaders from Mars, by the way? It's an Eighth Doctor and Charlie Pollard story on Big Finish. Have you heard of that one?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I have. I must have. I must have
Yeah.
heard it. I think I've heard them all.
Even if you haven't,
hmm
I highly recommend checking that out again because it's really, really funny. And he also, Simon Pegg also was a narrator of several different Doctor Who related events over the past couple of years. And also on the 14th, the man himself, Mr. Mark Eden, who of course played the character Marco Polo in the William Hartnell story, arguably one of the best straight up historical stories from the classic era of the show. And really the first historical character in Doctor Who. Like, we do not get the Tony Curran Van Gogh or the Dean Lennox Kelly William Shakespeare or Vinette Robinson's Rosa Parks if this guy hadn't paved the way for these historical figures to start appearing in Doctor Who. So I think we owe him a debt of gratitude for that. He also played Mr. Donald Beverstock in An Adventure in Space and Time, the BBC exec that told Sidney Newman to cancel Doctor Who before it even made it to air. Now, on the 16th, we mentioned his name before, and we're gonna mention him again. The lovely and wonderful Mr. Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, only appeared on television for one season. However, he also recently has returned to the role as the Ninth Doctor in a series of Big Finish audio adventures,
Ooh.
and we are all thankful that he did, because even though it's been several years of separation between the show and doing this, the man has not lost a step. And you know what? He's the Ninth Doctor through and through. He is the Doctor, and will always continue to be the Doctor.
I wish we had more of the Ninth Doctor for sure.
Me too, but hey, that's where Big Finish comes into play.
That's right.
Also on the 16th, we have Mr. Kevin Manser. He was primarily a Dalek operator in various different Dalek stories, namely the Dalek invasion of Earth, The Chase, The Mission to the Unknown, the Daleks' master plan and the power of the Daleks, as well as the first Peter Cushing movie, the Doctor Who and the Daleks, and also he was a Zarbi operator in the Web Planet. So,
Ooh,
and you all know how much I love that story. So that's why he's on the list primarily.
busy
And
guy.
yeah, very busy guy getting into the Dalek casings. Now, also on the 17th, we have Miss Patricia Maynard. She played the character Miss Winters in Tom Baker's debut story, Robot, who had a very interesting relationship with Sarah Jane Smith. And weirdly enough, she also reprised her role on the Sarah Jane Smith Big Finish series in the episode Mirror Signal Maneuver.
Hmm.
I'm not a big fan of that series, but just the fact that she reprised the role that she randomly appeared in a Tom Baker story like 40 years prior or 30, I think at that point, kudos to her. Like, and kudos to Big Finish that they keep bringing people back, even if they only appear on screen for like 5 seconds. Like
100%.
that's commitment, I think.
Yes.
Now, finally for the 16th, we have the late great Mr. Jeremy Bulloch, the original Boba Fett
Mm-hmm.
from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In Doctor Who, he played a character called Tor in the Space Museum and a character called Hal in the Time Warrior. Two completely obscure random characters that don't really matter very much. But I mean, it's Boba Fett. So, gotta give the man credit for that,
Sure.
right? On the 17th, we have Mr. Dallas Adams. He played the character of Professor Howard Foster. Sorry, my bad.
Sure.
Perry Brown's father in the episode Planet of Fire, and he also apparently was a stand-in for the character Chameleon in
Oh,
Planet of Fire, which also saw the departure of that character. So that's again bit of a random fact, but I guess there it is on the 17th, and I promise, I swear, I'm not doing this on purpose. This just keeps happening
we'll
that
see.
with the people having birthdays that's relevant to the topic of today.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Philip Latham, yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
played President Barusa in the Five Doctors. That specific incarnation of Barusa, because there was like 4 or 5 of them, and that was the one for the 20th anniversary special. Weird, but on the 20th, we're jumping from the 17th all the way to the 20th. We have Mr. Ian Scoons. Now, this was very special
Okay.
because he was responsible for special effects
Ooh.
specifically. Yeah, he was the special effects designer for the Ambassadors of Death, the Curse of Paladon, Pyramids of Mars, the Mask of Mandragora, the Invisible Enemy, and City of Death.
I love that Pyramids of Mars.
Yeah, I mean too, and I love the Curse of Paladon, so of course he's got to be on the list for today. On the actually, you know what? Let's skip a little bit. On the also on the 20th, we have Miss Lauren Ambrose. She played the character of Jillian Kitzinger. Jilly Kitzinger. Very complicated name in the 4th season of Torchwood, also known as the season we do not talk about, the Miracle Day season, where they're all in America. And yeah, she helped she was mainly a side character of the main villain, Oswald Danes, played by Bill Pullman, of all people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And finally, this I specifically want to skip this one to save him for the end. On the 20th, Mr. Anthony Head. Yeah. Obviously, he played Mr. Finch / Brother Lassa in School Reunion, the episode that reintroduces Sarah Jane Smith. He also played Balthazar in The Infinite Quest. Highly underrated episode, in my opinion. Very, very worth checking it out. It's very lesser known, not pun none intended, lesser known episode of Doctor Who. It's an animated. You
Oh,
gotta you gotta watch it. It's pretty funny. He also played several different characters in the Excellus series on Big Finish, which might primarily focus on the introduction of Iris Wildtime, and he also was a narrator on a bunch of other Doctor Who related stuff. But I mean, you clapped. You probably know this guy from somewhere else.
yeah, he's Rupert Giles from Buffy.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna have arguably the biggest Buffy fan in the world on this show, so I had to save him for last. So
Nice.
the lovely list of people we had today. Thank you all. We quite literally could not do this without you.
Hmm.
Now, speaking of not being able to do this without anyone, today the topic of conversation is, as you probably guessed it, going to be the talk about Gallifrey, but not
Yeah.
just the planet itself, specifically the Gallifrey Big Finish series that started in 2003 or 4. I can't remember at the moment, but yeah, it primarily starred Romana as the lady president and Leela with two canines because,
Yep.
twice the canines, double the fun.
Not even any Satanists either, which is weird.
Just wait, just give it some time. But, but, but this I always used to describe this series specifically when people ask me what do you say about the Gallifrey series. All I ever used to say was, imagine if the politics in the Star Wars prequels was good
Right.
and interesting and engaging. That's the best way to explain this series.
Mm.
And this is not taking a shot at the prequels. I love them dearly myself personally. It's just, imagine if you actually cared about the politics and it was actually on a planet that, you loved, like
Hmm.
Gallifrey. And, well, this is it. This is the series Gallifrey. Now, I am going to do something a little different today
Oh
for
boy.
today's episode. Something that I don't usually do,
Ooh.
but Mr. Snark,
That's
because
Cardinal. That's
yeah,
Cardinal
sorry,
Snarks.
sorry, sorry,
Thank you
Cardinal,
very much.
Cardinal, sorry, Cardinal,
Mm-hmm.
Cardinal Snarkulon. Since you're fairly new to this series, you've
Yeah.
only started listening to it about how long ago?
A
Okay,
few weeks
remind me.
ago. A few weeks ago.
Yeah,
3 weeks ago. Something like that.
I started listening well over several months ago. I think maybe might have been closer to a year.
Hmm.
So not only I am relatively very far removed from the first couple of episodes, I'm also so far ahead. Like
Yeah. Right.
I've already finished the first box set of the Gallifrey War Room, which is
Okay.
the most recent Gallifrey related thing that has come out. So I'm not only so far removed that I really have started to forget a lot of the things that happened in the first couple of episodes, but I'm
Yeah.
also so much far ahead that I know what's coming. So, in order to avoid potential spoilers for you, how about you take the conversation and go from episode to episode and just say what you think about it, and I'll try to reactivate the memory sensors of my brain and respond to what you just enjoying the series.
Right. Well, okay. Well, let's start with the. We'll go back to the first episode. Now, I did listen to them all in fairly quick order. Like, you are very good at retaining this information. I am okay at it now. But this first episode,
Weapon of
I got
choice.
weapon of choice. I believe they said that they decided to do this show after is it never or what is the Eighth Doctor episode that they were on, not Neverland, the one afterwards, the anniversary show.
Zagreus sits inside your head.
Right. Oh,
Zagreus
yeah.
lives among the dead. Zagreus sees you in your bed and eats you when you're sleeping.
Right. So they said, oh, these we'll put these two together. That worked out pretty good. So they get together, and Leela's been on Gallifrey since her time adventuring with the Doctors. She has married a Time Lord who has gone missing, named Andres.
Andred.
um, Andred, and Leela's president because everybody on Gallifrey gets a turn to be president But
That is
the,
true. That
yeah,
is true.
yeah, eventually, like one episode, I believe at one time there could have been three or four presidents in that one episode. But um, trying to remember with this now, with these first episodes, this first series, I don't know they really knew what they had, because these first episodes, Leela and Romana go off world quite a bit, solving mysteries, and so it's like you're the president, but you're also a private eye. It'd be like if Jimmy Carter in 1978 just decided to solve mysteries on his free time in America. This is what Romana is doing with Leela. And it's just a juxtaposition. Also, one thing I'm going to say about the people of Gallifrey, you'd almost think they're a little bit racist. They do
You
not
don't
like they do
say.
not like off-worlders. They do not like well, they keep referring to Leela as savage. Who says that? Oh my god. And these are guys are supposed to be, the keepers of time, the protectors of time, and 100% horribly racist. Not all of them. Some are good, some are reformers, some like Romana, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I would say
Well,
for the most part racist.
yeah. Well, remember the Time Lords since their inception, they've always been an allegory for British colonialism and the sense of superiority of seeing gonna straight up say it, seeing African people as lesser people, and the whole colonizing of other places as being them educating or enlightening the what they consider to be the lesser people. They felt like they were doing other people a favor by colonizing their world and enslaving them and whatever. So that example given to the Time Lords makes a ton of sense to make them
Yeah.
as racist and as with their superiority complex that they always have. So and Romana and the Doctor being the standouts, the very very notable standouts, I would say.
Right. Now, uh, so for this episode, for the first episode, we're introduced. There's a terrorist group that's also on uh, on Gallifrey,
The free
and
time
the
movement.
free time movement, and they have come up. They have tried to find a device that was built and put inside the Matrix. Is that right?
Yep, a
Yeah.
timonic fusion
The,
device. See, I do
right.
remember some stuff.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember uh, what the name of the device was. But anyways, and there's this thing. So they're gonna try and set this thing off, and it's up to Romana and Leela and the two canines to figure out everything. And then you're introduced to a few other people. I believe this is we're also introduced to. Was it Nevin? What's his name? Nevin? I never remember names.
Narvin.
Narvin. Yeah, I couldn't.
Narvin.
Narvin, and then of course, oh, that's what Narvin looks like.
Yep.
It's turned out you might be my favorite character on this show so far.
I love Narvin. I mean, again,
Yeah.
if Leela and Romana were and K9 weren't a part of the show, Narvin would be my favorite character.
Yes. And then Cardinal Braxiatel, Brax.
Yeah.
That's what.
The
Oh, that's what
Doctor's
he.
brother.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
He's the
Nice.
Doctor's older brother. Yeah.
Yes, and then there's Inquisitors and stuff like that. You're introduced to a bunch of the people. Is that who the Inquisitor is supposed to be, or is that just what one looks
Yeah.
like?
The Inquisitor Darkel. Yeah.
Yeah.
First introduced in the Colin Baker
So yeah.
series. For the
So
Time Lords.
anyways, ooh, yeah. So they got to find the student slash terrorist or whatever that's about to destroy things. But again, trying to go back through 14 or 15 episodes that I've listened to the last 3 weeks or so. I believe that's what happened. Guess what, guys? They catch her.
Yep. And I just love Romana sends Leela and K9 to that whatever the name of the prison planet was. And K9's supposed to be this big shot gangster or slaver or whatever. And he tries his damnedest to sound ruthless and mean and cruel, but it's K9. Like
Mm-hmm.
he could not be cruel if he tried to, and he did in this episode.
Well, he tries to be cruel in some upcoming episodes too, or whatever, which are pretty
Well,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, we don't have a picture, but we're also introduced to Mephistopheles Arcadian,
Yes.
time traveling criminal and con
Yeah.
man. I
Are you trying to wait a second? Wait a second, 50. Are you trying to tell me that a guy with the first name Mephistopheles might be up to no good? I don't buy it.
I don't know.
I'm
It's
sure
almost,
he has a good heart.
I don't know
Uh,
why they chose that name for him, but I will say this: I wish we got more of that character. Like, he sounds fascinating. I would watch a full series. I would listen to a whole series about that guy. But we only
there's
got
a they kind of go on the nose with their bad guys. Like there's Mephistopheles, there's Darkeld. Like come on. Like yeah.
yeah,
Oh no, that's supposed to be a very nice person.
yeah,
Darkeld.
the thing is, when she first appeared on the TV show, she did not have a name. She was just the Inquisitor,
Right.
and they wrote this character, the character Darkill, who was supposed to be a man originally, and then I think one of them just went, "Hey, how about we use that character from the Trial of a Time Lord series, bring back Linda Bellingham, who played the character, and just make Darkill her, give her the name because she never had a name in the original thing."
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, uh, I'm trying to remember so much of that story, but I had so much, and then this last bit or whatever is really what
Okay, so
gets
that
me.
was episode one. Episode
Yeah.
two, Square One was, I
Mhm.
think, the conference of what the temporal power is trying to figure out what to do with time travel, and do we
Yeah.
legalize time travel for other uh, beings or whatever? And there's a murder mystery.
Yeah. It's
They keep
another
getting it.
off-world one. Another off-world one, I believe. I don't think they're even on Gallifrey in this one.
No, the for the first season, I think they go off world pretty often.
Yeah.
And there's like I said, there's a murder mystery, someone trying to pin the blame on Leela, and they keep traveling back in time and reliving the same events as Leela tries to figure out what's happening. It feels like Knives Out with time travel in a way,
That's a
doesn't
good
it?
way of thinking. Sure.
And I love that they figure out that, or rather, they reveal at the very end that the conference already happened. This was just for show to find out, to just find if there's someone who was going to murder the delegates and just bring them out into the open.
Right.
Now,
But
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say. But again, this is another one that kind of it filled an hour. Like
Yeah,
yeah, it really it yeah. This is just setting up characters. I think it really has nothing to do with like the meat of what the Gallifrey story is gonna be.
yeah. The meat really only comes into play in the second season,
Right. Yeah.
and in the third episode, the inquiry. Well, there's an inquiry, and
Yes.
Romana's on trial, put on trial, and I gotta be
Is this
honest.
the one? Is this the one that introduces Darkel to the series, like to the audio series? I know she was. I don't believe she was in the first couple episodes. Was she? I think this is the one where
She had a
Darkel.
cameo in the first.
Oh, okay.
She had a cameo in the first, and it wasn't even planned, but it was kind of a last minute. They decided to add her there to set up this episode, and this episode was really where she fully came into play, and
Yeah.
with the whole putting President Romana on trial.
Which seems to happen quite a bit.
Yeah, and this really properly sets up the fact that other people on Gallifrey don't like the way that Romana's taking the planet. Like,
No.
she's a very
Progressive. She's progressive.
she's too progressive for the Time Lords. She's
Yeah.
very she tries to introduce all these reforms and all these liberal ideas that just doesn't feel right for these ancient dusty senators, as Anthony Head's character said in the episode he appeared in. I
Nice.
just had to bring that up again.
Nice
But
callback.
yeah, nice callback.
Hmm.
But yeah, so Romana's trying to make some changes, positive, or at least what we normal people, progressive people, would consider positive changes. But the
Yeah.
Time Lords don't like that. They don't like these changes.
Very
They
stuck in
don't
their
want
ways.
off-worlders to learn to study in the academy. I mean, Well, what's wrong with you? Well, I suppose on some level I can understand them because it sort of devalues the Time Lords a bit. If anyone
Yes.
can be a Time Lord, not just Gallifreyans.
Well, there's other civilizations that have the ability to use time and stuff like that. I think, right? I think they've said that before.
Yeah,
There's like the blue people and all those stuff. But
the
yeah, I can't remember the name of the aliens
no,
right now.
the Monin host and the
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nakistani
Yeah.
and
There's so
whatever.
there's other civilizations that can use time. I guess like, but the Gallifreyans are like the keepers of time or something. Yeah, it gets a little confusing
The
sometimes for
Lords
me.
of Time,
Right. Well, yeah. Oh, are you saying they're time lords?
maybe.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, that's what they call themselves too. Now, I believe that is also the episode where you always think that Narvin and the CIA are kind of working against Romana, when in fact, like even though he doesn't agree with a lot of her politics, Narvin is actually like wants to support the president. So you start figuring
Yeah,
those
I
kind
mean,
of things
he
out.
says it himself. He doesn't like Romana, but as a coordinator of the CIA, which for you normies, that's the Celestial Intervention Agency, he's still loyal to the president, whoever that president may be.
Right.
And, you know, Narvin is a bureaucrat in the
Yeah.
best way possible. Like,
Yeah.
and I had Soda on a couple of weeks ago. I forced him to watch The Deadly Assassin,
Oh.
the episode I also asked you to watch last year.
Mhm.
And the first thing he said to me when he finished watching the episode is, "Oh my God, the Time Lord bureaucrats."
Yeah.
I think Narvin is the best example of that. Now, final
I
episode of
think there's a
season
lot of
one.
I think there's a lot of examples of that. I think Narvin is the example of well, maybe a bureaucrat or whatever, but yeah, I think what he
A
does is a
good
little
guy
different.
underneath. Uh, I said best example because
Yeah.
he's still a bureaucrat, he's still very corrupt, but he's underneath. He's still a very good guy, right?
Yes.
As
Yeah.
opposed to someone else
Right.
you might know of.
Hmm.
Now, final episode. Weirdly enough, we get India Fisher here, but not as Charlie Pollard.
I kept waiting for Charlie to show up, but yeah, it never does.
Yeah, she's off in the Divergent universe with the Doctor and Karis at this point. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's
She
that's
yeah,
go ahead.
Charlie's sister named Sissy.
Yeah,
I thought that was a little announced. And a Nazi. And a Nazi.
not just a Nazi, a Hitler fangirl. Like, jeez,
Unbelievable.
was
What?
Charlie the only normal person in that family?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, and the whole episode is about having to make sure she blows her own brains out. Yeah. So this is a fun episode, isn't it?
Yeah, a blind
Yeah. It
guy.
all takes place on a train, and the trains converge. There's another train that converges on and stuff like that. Like that. Yeah. It's actually it was a really good story. It could have done with a lot less Nazi stuff. I could have done a lot with a lot less Nazi stuff. I can tell you that.
Yeah, especially from coming from the mouth of a India Fisher,
It's
like
yeah. It is.
a
Yeah.
beloved character. Turns out her sister's a Nazi.
Oh yeah. But she does find out the error of her ways, guys. She realizes that Nazis are the worst, so she kills herself. And that
Yeah,
was the point of the whole thing, making sure she kills herself with like a pearl handled revolver. It's like, oh my god, it's
and
very gauche of her.
one thing, another really big major plot point that happens in the episode. Turns out that this character Tarvold, who you were
Mm,
starting to really hate, guess what? Surprise, surprise! He was actually Andred the whole time, Leela's husband,
yeah,
who
mm,
suffered amnesia after regenerating or whatever, and just took swapped places with someone else,
yeah, and
with the Time Lord who was sent to kill him.
and Leela's so happy about it.
Yeah, of course. She's overjoyed. She's over the moon. She can stab him. She's so excited. Stab him. She's so excited.
Yeah, it gets yeah, it's odd. And what were they trying to explain? The way he acted, some kind of a post regeneration kind of
Um,
haze or something like that.
yeah, cultural generation trauma.
Trauma. Yeah. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Oh well,
think
things work out well for him, if I remember
I
right.
wouldn't say that they do because they
Yep.
slowly, very, very gradually starts to phase out of the show.
Well, there's a reason.
Yeah,
The reason's coming up if you don't remember
well, yeah,
in a couple episodes. In a couple episodes.
and
Uh, yeah.
the yeah, and the setup for that starts in the first episode of series 2, which I've forgotten the name of. It's Lies. Sorry, very appropriate for this series. Actually, Lies.
Mm-hmm.
This series is kind of built on lies, but all throughout the second series, we kind of learned that there was. And stop me if you've heard this before. Or seriously, really, stop me if you've heard this before.
Okay.
Turns out there was a secret hidden history to Gallifrey that we weren't aware of before this
Shocking.
episode.
Shocking.
I know, right? I mean, when is that ever going to happen?
Yeah. So I believe is this the episode where we are introduced to Pandora?
Yep, is
Uh,
the episode where the in literally and figuratively the idea of Pandora is planted in our minds, just as it was in Romana's mind. First of
right.
all, we learned that Braxiatel was Romana's tutor in the academy when she was young, back when she
Romana
was
one.
still, yeah, the first Romana, and
Mm.
she got lost in the Matrix one day, and the Pandora, the first female president of Gallifrey, and arguably the worst president of Gallifrey.
Oh,
Uh,
worse
so,
than Morbius? Again, another.
well,
If your name is
I said,
Morbius,
I,
you're not going to be a good guy
yeah, I did
or a
say
good movie.
arguably.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, at least Matt Smith's in it, but
that's true.
I got to take that picture of Braxiatel off the screen. So she planted herself in her brain and waited. And this sort of they sort of retroactively explain why Romana casually regenerated at the beginning of the I think that was Tom Baker's penultimate season, and at the beginning of Destiny of the Daleks, where he just goes through several different generation forms for no reason other than they had to replace the actress and they had to find an excuse to why they have a different actress all of a sudden. So they just she
Too
regenerated.
tall, too tall.
No,
Remember that?
thank you, not today.
Oh my god.
And then later it turns out that the first Romana is blaming the second Romana for murdering her, essentially,
Right.
forcing her
Yeah.
to regenerate.
Yeah. Now I don't know if that's just like the actual Romana telling her that, or if that's Pandora talking through Romana one or whatever. But yeah, trying to blame Romana two for murdering her. I don't know how that would have been possible, but fine. Things work out for.
I mean,
Well, do they work out? It
yeah,
doesn't.
I mean,
It
I
doesn't
mean,
really work
Time
out.
Lords and different generations, it gets kind of complicated.
Yeah, guys. It gets a little. It gets a little complicated. Uh, Now, is this the one where Leela loses her sight, or is that still coming up?
No. That's this next one,
Hmm.
Spirit.
Right,
That's the one where Leela and Romana swap bodies,
right, and
and
yeah,
when they're on
some
the
really
swap
over
body.
the top acting, some really over the top acting by Lala Ward or whatever when they're in the soup and they kind of switch or they kind of share personalities. I don't know if they switch personalities, but they kind of share parts of each other or whatever. And uh, Lala Ward would talk like Leela and going, oh, and like yeah, it is. It's worth it to listen to just to hear her talk like that. I liked it. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, and funny and over the top as it was, it really helps the two characters understand each other. And this is
Yes.
one of the things I love when other TV shows do that is they swap bodies between two characters who don't disagree with each other, and sort of they start to see each other's points of view.
Hmm.
And that actually really helps strengthen their relationship going forward.
They Freaky Friday each other.
And the Freaky Friday, it's a Freaky Friday story with Gallifrey,
Yeah.
with Leela and Romana.
Yeah.
But And then again, this is like the A plot, which it's a fun one-off, but the B plot, which really gets further established in the next episode, which is called, which is literally called Pandora.
Right.
The other episode sets up this mysterious figure showed up, burned to a crisp, no tongue, and just
Oh
walking
yeah.
around, yeah, trying to tell some,
The sounds it makes. Ugh, so gross.
yeah, and
Oh,
he's
oh my gosh,
yeah.
gross.
Imagine that telling an actor, okay, so act this scene as if you don't have a tongue, and it's all on audio. Like, try to act. Imagine you don't have a tongue. But yeah, this leads into a bigger side story that where they try to figure out who this mysterious
Yeah.
figure could be and why
Yeah.
is he like that. And I think you don't really learn that until the next episode.
Right. And why
But
wouldn't he just regenerate?
yeah, why can't he regenerate? It's because he's contracted the dogma virus, which only affects Time Lords, but only after they regenerate. So
Right.
that's why he burned himself to a crisp, bringing himself to the point of death, but he's still refusing to regenerate. And this obviously leads into the final episode of that season, Insurgency, which is like the beginning of a full-on Time Lord civil war.
Right.
Partially led by Darkel, but then obviously,
100%.
yeah, and then we're getting to the reveal that Pandora is actually behind it, and that now Pandora is now inhabiting the body of the first Romana, and you have
Yeah.
like a Romana versus Romana type situation,
Yes.
except one of them is Pandora. And guess what? The more advanced K9 is with Pandora, and the lesser K9 unit, as he calls him, is with Leela and
I
Romana.
love that. I love how he's shitty towards the other one.
It's K9, the
And
the back and forth
the
between the
inferior
two
unit,
K9.
the inferior
Inferior
unit.
K9 unit.
Hmm.
I don't
I
think you
love it.
watched. I don't think you watched the Surgeon Adventures series, but in it there's a lot of scenes where K9 and Mr. Smith, the supercomputer that Surgeon has, they
Okay.
take shots at each other all the time. This
Nice.
is this is like that, except it's K9. It's K9 dissing another K9, and it's a lot of fun.
I love that goddamn robot.
Yeah, me too. John Leeson is still with us, ladies and gentlemen. You can
Hmm.
still come back and play that character if you wanted to.
Sure.
Now, should we jump into the final season, which that really is the meat and bones of the actually, no,
Well,
wait, wait.
we should explain like Pandora, how it gets rid of Braxiatel, manages to trap Pandora within his
Yeah,
mind. He then goes off world because as long as there's no other Time Lords for Pandora to jump into, then Pandora can no longer be a threat. So, uh, yeah, Braxiatel kind of takes it upon himself to trap this thing, to trap Pandora, and uh, and leave. And he leaves Gallifrey for good.
yeah. Or
For
so we thought. Or so we thought.
or so we thought.
Now, my bad. This is actually the final episode, Imperiatrix, where,
Oh yes.
surprise, surprise, the second Romana actually announces herself as the Imperiatrix, something that Pandora tried to do in her original run as president, and that is really what led to the Time
The
Lord
Civil
Civil
War.
War.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, and so she disbands the High Council or so, and Darkel saying you can't do that. All this is against against the constitution of the Time Lords or something like that. Even though she's broken, I don't know how many Darkel and stuff like that. It gets really confusing. This episode gets really confusing
yeah.
for a while. This is one
So
of those times where you wish you could see something visual instead of just having to hear it and stuff like that. That it could really have done with like to watch
it,
something happen.
despite being an audio series, it's an incredibly visual series.
Hmm.
And the thing is, the hypocrisy of this character knows no bound. Like you
No.
said, like all the rules that she broke, she went behind her back. She tried to make deals with Narvin behind Romana's back. She tried
Yep.
making deals with Braxiatel behind Romana's back. She tried making deals with Leela behind Romana's back. And
Hmm.
now she comes back and saying, "No, you can't do that. That's not that's wrong. That's
Yeah.
against all of our rules."
Yeah.
Like, what the
Ha-
hell?
Yeah. That's against the old ways. That's against the old ways. It's like
Against the
what?
old
All
ways.
right. Yeah. Whatever.
And actually, because Darkel broke all of these rules, Romana was in a position where she had to do what she did to save her own skin.
Yeah. She announces that she's imperiatrix so that she can rule alone. That she won't have to
Unopposed.
deal. Yeah. So she would basically become a dictator. Good old Romana is now dictator of Gallifrey, and this is exactly what Pandora is saying was going to happen. Or the Imperiatrix or whatever that is, Pandora was saying this is what's going to happen, da, 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 and eventually it all comes true. She becomes Imperiatrix, overlord of Gallifrey for what 10 minutes,
Yep,
5 minutes.
more or less. But
Yeah,
again, she
didn't
does
last long.
that to disbands the High Council so that they won't depose her forcibly. And,
Right.
and really, Romana was kind of put in a no-win scenario. It's like
No.
she either goes on life the way she planned, and have the High Council depose her and Darkel becomes the president, or she announces herself as Imperatrix, completely loses the faith of everyone else, and allow Pandora to manifest in physical form. Like again, no win situation.
Yep.
This is how bad things have gotten for her as president.
Terrible.
But and then obviously then she the proper Roman the proper Pandora manifests in Romana's older body and banishes the new Romana, the second Romana and Leela from her office, and she becomes the president. And that's how the season ends,
Yes.
leading us to the first episode of series 3, Fractures. Full on Time Lord on Time Lord action,
Yep.
war, a Time Lord civil war, the second in by my count at least on Gallifrey, the second Time Lord civil war. And how do you set the stakes in this series going forward? How do you make things so bad for the characters? How do you break a character down so badly to the point of no return? Leela in a gets caught up in the crossfire. She tries to save someone from an explosion, and doing so, she loses her sight.
Yeah. Yeah. Some kind of flashbang or something like that
Yeah,
goes off.
flash grenade
Yeah.
or something. But
Yeah.
the thing is, this kind of thing already happened to her on the TV show with Tom Baker in the horror of Fangrock, where she witnesses an explosion of a Rutan spaceship that blinds her for a couple of seconds, and then she regains her sight back. She thinks that was going to happen. Now, right, obviously, real world behind the scenes stuff coming to play here. This was just an excuse to get her to change her eye color because Louise Jameson has naturally blue eyes, but
Hmm.
the production team felt like that wouldn't make sense for the character, so she had to wear contact lenses that made her
Oh, really?
eyes brown or black. And guess what? She was virtually blind most of her scenes when she did that. She always had to. If you actually watch the first couple of episodes with Leela, she's always holding on to someone or just grabbing a wall because she can't see. And that's the weirdest thing. That's her character is a warrior.
Yeah.
Like, how do you make that big of a mistake? Like, she needs to be able
Ridiculous.
to see and run around. So yeah, they had her stare into an explosion to have an excuse to having her eye colors change so she can actually act
Right.
properly now without having to be acting blind. And now weird thing is she's on audio, but yeah, she
Yeah, that's
she
true.
loses her eyesight. She starts to think that no, this is a temporary thing. This happened to me before. My eyesight will be back. Don't worry. And the Time Lords are like, no, Leela, listen, this is serious.
Well,
Your eyesight.
it's specifically the guy who becomes Surgeon General, who is basically a medic for hire that's in the underground. Uh,
Yes,
yeah, that they find or whatever, and he has a whole bunch of a whole bunch of patients there or whatever that he has to leave and stuff like that when they show up. But yeah, he's the one that tells her it's like there's nothing I can do. Like there's nothing. This isn't something that Gallifreyan magic can just or medical medicine can just fix.
Well, it's kind of
You're
magic, isn't
yeah,
it?
you're just done. You can't see anymore. So automatically, I start thinking of what is that character from Rogue One or whatever? It's like she's gonna be like that guy. She's gonna be like the blind monk or whatever. She's like, I am one with the Force. The Force is with me, and it's not gonna matter. She's still gonna be able to whip people's asses, and she
Yeah,
sort of does.
she's still a massive badass,
Hmm.
just a blind badass.
Yeah,
But what I love about this is after they tell her that it's irreversible, she just asks to be alone. She sits down and she just starts crying.
yep,
And this is really the first time where we get to see Leela crying and
yeah.
breaking down. Audio, TV, comics, whatever. That character just does not do that. And this is how badly things have gotten on Gallifrey. That you brought this character down to tears,
Hmm.
essentially. And great acting by Louise Jameson
Yeah.
in this scene.
Yeah,
Like, again,
I prefer this Leela than to say even the one from Spirit where they had to do so much or whatever, and she had to be more like a Romana and stuff. So, I really enjoy just seeing like her almost becoming. Well, you don't want to say human because she obviously isn't human,
she is
but
human.
she's from the Sever. What is it? What's the Severdeen or whatever?
The 17.
Leela. Yeah, is that like on Earth?
Okay, so I'm gonna spoil the face of evil for you. In the far future, a human colony ship crash lands on this
Oh,
planet,
okay.
and the inhabitants of the spaceship sort of separate into two groups: the Seva team, which is basically the survey team,
Oh,
and the
okay.
Tesh were the technicians. And the Seva
I
team
also like
became
that somebody
savages
keeps
because
calling them the seven dwarfs, the seven dwarfs, the seven, the seven dwarfs. I like that joke.
Savador.
Uh, yeah, I think we should also mention that the reason they're fighting and they're underground and stuff like that is that the Imperiatrix Romana one has decided to take her fight to the alien students that are in the academy. So
Yeah,
she's bringing on war with all these other planets as well, and they're gonna be not too
I,
happy that he's
I
killing all
love
their students.
yeah, I loved the few scenes that where they actually get to hear it from the students' point of view. Like we get
Hmm.
students from several different species, just all sitting in a dorm together, talking about politics essentially, just talking about how they think things are going to go, and
Yeah,
they're trying to stay optimistic in a time of political unrest and a in a time lord civil war where
there's a
all that.
couple that want to act, that want to rise up and stuff like that, and then there's a couple that are more level-headed about everything too. So, it's not. Yeah, they were like I think they only show up for this episode. I think they're only mentioned in it, or they're only act. Maybe there was another one afterwards, but I think they did a real good job. Yeah, it would have been nice to have heard more and stuff like that. Eventually, it goes on to their leaders and stuff like that because of all the actions that are happening. But yeah, I really enjoyed those characters, and the uh, the one human gets killed off right away, the Scottish kid. And there's always a Scottish kid in these episodes, it seems. But this one got it. The
I
Scottish do
mean,
pretty good. The Scots
yeah,
do pretty good when it comes to time travel and stuff like that. They get around.
yeah,
Scots
I
and
mean,
Cockneys.
yeah, they're kind of limited by the acting talent of the voice actors.
Yeah, that's fine. I still
Yes,
think
Matt
it's fun.
Murphy.
I like it. I like it when I hear a Scottish person on there. It's like, oh, that guy's Scottish as hell, and he's not fooling around.
Yeah, and then we get to appropriation. I think this is the one where we find out that the superior K9 unit was actually working in secret with the inferior K9 unit at all times. Right, we were
Yes,
actually working behind Pandora's back. Almost said Pandora's box, behind Pandora's back, and to help Romana and Leela win the war.
right. Is this the one where Leela's exhausted? Like, is this one where she's captured because of exhaustion? Is that right?
I think so. It might be also where K9 sort of stuck in the Matrix, trying to prevent Pandora from getting stronger
Right.
or whatever. Or like he's having the inferior K9 unit is having arguments with Pandora in the Matrix, while Leela tries to uh, try to stop her. And Leela again, still trying to get used to this new life of of living without her
Yeah.
eyesight.
Is this also the one where we find out Leela can still talk with the future version of Pandora?
You wait? Was it Leela talking with the future
Or not?
Pandora?
Not sorry, not Leela. Romana. Romana talking with the future version of Pandora. That's the only one that was still in the Matrix. Uh, Is that right? Is that one?
We clearly do not remember. So let's move on
Yeah.
to
There's a yeah. We listened. I listened to a bunch of these
all
real fast.
these episodes sort of meld into the same stream
Yeah.
or whatever in our minds. But yeah, the next one, Mind Bomb. Yeah, I think Mind Bomb. Just judging by the name, I think that's when the quote unquote inferior K9 unit blows up
Yeah.
inside the Matrix. Leela's very brokenhearted about this. I mean, as if this character hasn't been through enough already. And I mean, just look at the cover art for this. Like, she's got the blindfold on her eyes. Like, as if you couldn't already break this character down enough, you got to take away her dog now. Like, you got to blow up her canine.
And it's like she said, it's her last remaining tie to the doctor as well,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I suppose in one way you could say that Romana is also that, but
Yes.
she's never her and Romana, while they're still good friends, they never really saw eye to eye. Pardon the pun. They never really saw eye to eye uh,
How
on a
dare you?
lot of different things.
How dare you, sir?
I didn't mean to. Okay.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
I think this episode really sees the downfall of Darkel.
uh,
The
yeah,
final.
maybe it starts. She's so slippery. It's like, yeah, I can't believe that she wasn't just executed way before.
Well, I
She
mean, yeah,
keeps
she
she
was
keeps
incredibly
staying
loyal.
around.
Yeah, she was incredibly loyal to Pandora, so I guess that's why she never got executed. But I think also this is another episode that introduces the rather that sets up the idea that the dogma virus is back in full force and is starting to infect all the people of Gallifrey. And so, like, the Time Lords are in a state of disarray. Like, if the Civil War wasn't bad enough, now they're all infected with this horrible disease that it's lethal to Time Lords, meaning that they can't ever regenerate. Uh, it only affects them after they regenerate.
After the yeah.
Yeah, and now we move on to the final episode of the original series of Gallifrey, Panacea, where Pandora is defeated. The future of Pandora's no more. I mean, it's sort of gets disposed of. And look at that, Braxiatel's back from the
Yeah.
future, as it were. And he then reveals that this whole time, then obviously Romana, Leela, the remaining K9, and Narvin go to the Braxiatel collection, and they find Braxiatel. Turns out he's been tinkering with all that stuff. They leave Gallifrey in a state of disarray. I think what was it? Was it Chancellor Valias or Lord Matthias that became the president? I can't
It's
remember
Lord
now.
Matthias. Like, what a rise for this guy. Just a couple episodes, I think, ago, he wasn't even a Catalan, and then he got bumped up to like vice president at some point, and then all of a sudden president. Yeah, it like that whole election thing got very like that. Yeah, like this is supposed to be a political show. That whole thing with the election, like going back to the last episode, was bananas. Whereas you have Leela on the one hand, or not, I keep saying Leela, Romana on the one hand, vying for election again after she had to step down. Darkel, who gets someone to shoot her so she can get positive votes, also out of prison, and also somehow if a new president is named, all the other political prisoners get out of jail free, no problem. Like
Yeah, because that's the rules on Gallifrey.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And then yeah, and then yeah, all this stuff happens, and Drax comes back, and then he names what's his name president. He says, "Oh no, I was still chancellor, and so don't worry, I get to name my chancellor and therefore president." And then yeah, I'm gonna name this guy president. No problem.
Yeah, then after Pandora and Dark have been bouncing the role of president, the presidency went to Braxiatel, and Braxiatel gave it to Chancellor Valias, who then gave it to Lord Matthias.
Yeah, president now, President Matthias.
It's like the Oprah Winfrey show. You get to be president, and you get to be president, and you
This
get
was
to be president. And
this was, I say, 15 minutes. There was like three different because it looked like Darkel was supposed to, like, I don't know if she was supposed to win or whatever, but it looked like she could have won, and Romana was president again for I think a little bit or whatever. She said she was in pediatrics, and then whatever. Bang, Matthias is president, and this is gonna work out just great.
sure, it will. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's after they leave the planet Gallifrey in as loosey goosey of a way that it is, with
Mhm.
everyone dying, everyone recovering from the civil war that just devastated the planet. Then the survivors are suffering from a virus that will infect them as soon as they regenerate. The presidency is like no one really knows what's happening. Turns out that what Braxiatel has actually been doing this whole time when he's been fighting Pandora and trying to get Pandora out of his head, he's been off in the Braxiatel collection building a portal to travel through the Axis, which was introduced in a Fifth Doctor story in Big Finish a couple of about a year or two before that, I think,
Okay.
which is sort of the space between different parallel realities. And the reason he's been doing that, and the reason why he wanted Romana, Leela, Narvin, and K9 with him, is because he had a vision of the future. Seems to be happening a lot between him and his brother, oddly enough. But he had a vision of the future of a time when the Daleks were to invade Gallifrey and engage in a massive conflict known as a time war, and threaten the whole of reality, which is coming. But that
Ooh.
obviously is a story for another time, because as you can see here, we got Gallifrey 6, and before that we got to get through Gallifrey 4 and Gallifrey 5.
I've
But
just started four,
yeah,
and it is already kind of bonkers.
trust me, it gets crazier, especially once you get to the second one. I think it is the second. Hold on, let me just check. Uh, so give your initial thoughts on the first part of Gallifrey Series 4.
Okay, so yes, they've time phased, so they're like they're out of time, I believe is what they're saying. So they're on Gallifrey. Romana meets a Romana, like meets herself, but not sure if this is a different version of like a version of Romana, or if this is just a different whole phase of times Romana. She has a son in this first one. The son keeps saying like, "You're my mother." I'm not your mother. I don't have a kid. So yeah, I've only gotten to the part where Antonin, which is Romana on the new Gallifrey's son, has kidnapped his mother, leaving Romana and Braxiatel at Hearthaven, her home, um, but under guard from uh, their butler. I don't know. It's fun though. Anyway, and Leela is about to become president of the Time Lords. Leela.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, you get to be president, and you get to be president, and you get to be president. Everyone gets to be president, but yeah,
The only one so far on this show that isn't president is Narvin, and I'm waiting. He would make a great president. He'd make the
I don't
best
think
one.
to be honest, I don't even think he wants to be president.
Probably not. I
I
think he
think he
likes
just
being a
wants.
spy.
Yeah. That's not the presidency is not a role that he feels comfortable with.
Good.
But there's so many other stories to talk about with Gallifrey, and we've only just talked about 3 seasons, and you managed to fill out an hour of talking
Yeah.
about it. There's so far there's 13 seasons already of this thing.
What?
Yeah, the one I said earlier, the War Gallifrey War Room Allegiances,
Oh yeah.
that's the 13th release of Gallifrey, and there's still 3 more coming after that. But like I said, that is a story for another time. So
Sure.
since I'm in the future right now, I've already
Oh my
listened
God.
to all these. I know what's happening. I know what's coming. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the Time Lord, the situation on Gallifrey will resolve itself by the
No.
time the Time War happens? Do you think that they'll find a cure for the dogma virus? And more importantly, will the Time Lords be ready for when the Daleks come to play?
I think, like I keep thinking, like, what did the war doctor? Didn't the war doctor destroy the dogs? Is that going to happen in this time war? I'm not sure, but here's the thing: I think they will find a cure for the dogma virus. I think they're going to have to. Uh, Now, as far will they be ready for the Daleks? I don't think so, but maybe this whole thing where they can phase through time is going to help. There's a million ways that this thing can go. Like, yeah, it's a bit of cheating that you know. I'm just going to say this out loud right now. You are a cheater, sir. But I am, yeah.
I know.
This I know that when we started going through the Eighth Doctor stuff, when I first heard Leela and Romana together, I knew I was going to enjoy the show when you told me they have an entire section on it, and that's why it's like I'm going to listen to every single one. Eventually, I'll get there. It's going to take me a little while, as yeah, I've just gone through like the 3 seasons in 3 weeks, and so it'll be in about 10 weeks, I guess, at that point to get to to the end of where you're at. But I'm going to keep going at it and stuff. But do I think? Do I think? Like I think Romana's going to have to regenerate at some point. So that would mean uh, that they're at least a Time Lord's going to have to regenerate. So they're going to have to get rid of the dogma virus. Otherwise, they're just killing them off and stuff like that. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm hoping that Narvin sticks around for the run of the series. I'm hoping that Leela becomes like maybe not like the president like she's doing in there in this phased reality that they're in the fourth series, but maybe like has something to do like war planning, especially with it going up against the dogs and stuff like that. I think it would be great to have her in there. I'd love to see her stab a Dalek with a knife, or at least hear about it, I guess, because it's an audio show. Yeah, there's lots of ways. I'm sure we're gonna have a few of the favorites coming out. Like I don't think Braxiatel is gonna make it through. He might not even make it through this series. I think it's he still has Pandora eating at his brain. So uh, yeah, there's lots of ways this could go. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm fully invested into hearing what happens with the rest of Gallifrey for sure.
You know what? I'm incredibly jealous of you that you actually get to enjoy all this for the first time. Obviously, I had my time with it. Now it's your turn, and
Yeah,
yes,
me.
you were right a lot about a lot of these. Romana eventually, as you can see here in this picture, she eventually regenerates,
Into
and
Drusilla,
yeah,
more
and
Buffy content.
you know what? I'll let you in on a bit of a secret, just a bit of a tease to let you know that there's something to look forward to.
Buffy.
Omega comes back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you know what? Eventually, obviously, they're really starting to lay the groundworks for the Time War itself, and then eventually it just becomes the Gallifrey Time War series. The Master shows up, the Derek Jacobi
That's
Master.
something I'm surprised I didn't have it. Like I'm surprised that the master hasn't shown up yet.
Well, I
Oh,
mean, there he is, and
yep.
as you can see in this picture, Ace also shows up, and yeah,
Nice.
obviously Rassilon's gonna come back eventually
So
at some point
three,
because he has
they're gonna
to.
have three companions on at the same time.
Mm,
Well, that'd be pretty good.
kinda. So yeah,
Nice.
lots and lots and lots to look forward to. But, and I'll say that for the third time today, that all of that is in the future for you. That all that is a story for another time. I
Sure.
almost feel like River's song at the end of the library episode, where she's like, "You've got all of that to come." You and me, time and space. You watch us run.
Ooh.
That was the line that she says to the doctor. So, Mister Cardinal Snarkalon,
Did you
you
even
have
see my
really.
Gallifreyan collar? I had a Gallifreyan collar going on the whole bit.
It looks very Dracula-ish,
Yeah, I thought it was more like Dracula after a while.
which is weird because one of the episodes you're about to listen to actually involves vampires. But
Yes, I know
yeah,
they don't like each other.
now they do not like each other one bit.
Mm-mm.
So you know what? I'm just gonna stop talking and let you get back to catching up on the Gallifrey series, because really you've got lots of great stories coming your way, and you are going to enjoy them, sir. So
Great.
when you're not listening to the Gallifrey
Mhm.
series on Big Finish, where
Yes.
can the good people of planet Earth find you, Lord Cardinal?
Well, right here on this Northern Entertainment Group network on Tuesdays, I got a show called Have You Seen This? Where we have been watching television. We talk about what we've been watching in television. Funnily enough, that's every Tuesday here on the Northern Entertainment Group. I also have a show over with our friends at Let's Get Ready Network, and again, it's on Tuesday, conveniently as well, called the Starting 11, where we talk the English Premier League. We give you our thoughts on the week's matches, news, what's going on, and opinions about them. Also, I have another show on the LGR Network for the Patreon only, called LGR After Snark. It's just a weekend show where we can talk about whatever we want to talk, probably have a few drinks. Uh, it should be coming back soon, hopefully in March.
Thank you, and you can find me every Monday on this channel, on the Greatest Show in the Galaxy. We can also find me I believe we decided on Thursday on Fun with Flags, the show that I do with my good friend Soda, where we would take turns talking about our respective countries. I talk about my country, Israel, and he talks about his country, Canada, and we sort of teach each other, educate each other on our respective countries. And I was supposed to be on Taco's Geek Gauntlet
Right?
last week, but I fell asleep, and yeah, I promoted myself being on that show for
Mm-hmm.
weeks for no good reason, and I apologize. But you should still check that out. You should check out Taco's channel, something to talk about. He does a lot of great things on that channel. And speaking of individual channels, you can also find me on my YouTube channel, 50 Shades of Geek. I do weekly reviews of Doctor Who episodes from 1963 all the way to 2022, and I'm already on the William Hartnell third season, so good for me. And
Oh
also,
boy.
you should check out our other good friends over at the Multiverse of Geekdom, where they're keeping the legacy of our good friend Ben Rayner alive by continuing to do the shows that he lived for, even after his unfortunate and untimely passing. So, from all of us over the Northern Entertainment Group YouTube channel and the Benverse, the larger, wider Benverse at large. Oh, and it's sorry, my bad. I'm also going to be, or rather, by this point, but when this comes out, I already have been on the Movie Lovers Unite YouTube channel with our good friend John D. Gregorio talking about, I think that's his name. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the name, but my good friend John talking about Nakam, a Holocaust short film. So,
If you don't fall asleep first.
well, I hope so. I've only got about an hour and a half to prepare.
Oh
So,
boy.
thank you for watching this episode of The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Northern Entertainment Group YouTube channel and all the other channels we mentioned here today. And we will see you some other time. Goodbye.